Hello, this is Perry Mink. It is March 27th. It is Wednesday, 2019 at about 10:15 in the morning. And I'm writing, or not writing, but doing a video again, a YouTube video again, because there's 6 days left before this inspection again with the Housing Authority, because they came in and the landlord, the VA case manager, and 3 workers, 1 electrician and 2 workers, to complete repairs that had to do with the bathroom and the electricity. And all of these people, along with the Contra Costa County Housing Authority, are going along with this harassment, this intimidation, the false information, the wicked games that they are perpetrating and directing at me to dupe me or pull the wool over my eyes, to pretend, to put on a show, to set up another situation where they would like to intimidate me to the point, harass me to the point, terrorize me to the point of getting rid of me. This is all stemming from my civil lawsuit against Encina Veterinary Clinic Incorporated et al. Against the vet practice. And it's because the government here is operated by a sex and hate cult. And it stems from the Catholic Church. It stems from the teachings from their schools and in their churches, institutions, dioceses, etc. I am asking again for help, that people keep demanding that justice be served, that all of this harassment directed at me is illegal, is completely illegal. These people are committing organized crimes. It is illegal for them to keep harassing me. It falls under intimidation, it falls under tampering, it falls under witness tampering, evidence tampering. They're still doing it. So they did fix the toilet tank flushing mechanism. They also caulked the shower stall where the caulking was coming loose, and it was like just pulling out like a rubber band. And the electricity was not listed on the report. And let me see, I have that here. And so the one that I had posted on Facebook, because I've been posting this on Facebook. Let's see, that one. So this one is this was the reinspection was done on March 5th. And that's when they wrote about the clutter. Okay, so I asked for an extension, and I got an email from the Contra Costa Housing Authority case manager telling me that they declined it. See, these were I made copies for them, and I got it stamped, and let's see, not that one, that's a receipt invoice, and there was mine. So that was declined, but they did come in on March 5th, and they did conduct the investigation. I posted photos on Facebook, and I did deal with what they're calling clutter, but it's packed boxes, because I'm seeking justice, and that means I would get my sanctuary home back that they stole and demolished. It was completely illegal what they did, and I proved it through evidence, and I wrote articles on that you could find on my change.org petition, and I will post that in the comments below. After that inspection, I then got the notice from the housing authority that there would be a reinspection on March 2nd, which is next Tuesday. So it's in 6 days. Today is Wednesday. And that was regarding, now it has on there the toilet, where is it? Toilet's not flushing and shower stall needs to be recaulked or needs to be caulked. But they didn't put on there about the electricity. And that was some type of fiasco. And they measured and claimed that the refrigerator was using too much voltage or something, and too many appliances were being plugged into the electrical outlet for the refrigerator, but it was the only one that I had plugged in. And so I posted photos that he drilled a hole, put in a different socket just for the refrigerator. And then they ran the line out through the neighbor's basement, I guess, and then there was pounding going on in his unit, and then they ran it out to something outside, and I posted photos, and they were very mean to me, as far as the looks on their faces. I asked for a business card that had their licenses because the one guy was claiming to be an electrician. So I had to act out their behavior because that's what they had been doing to me. And it's like saying, well, what would you rather be treated as? Do you want to have civil communication, rational communication? Hello, how are you today? How's this? How's that? Okay, I've got to get going, and then on you go. Instead, they're calling that teasing, which is just totally bizarre. So while they were here, the landlord came in and he was saying things to the case manager, the VA case manager, like, well, this is why I would like to be able to come look at the item, it was regarding the flushing mechanism, so I know what part to go look at, when he goes to the store to get a replacement part. Well, I said, if you were trustworthy, that you would have been able to come in before and get the part number or the part so that you could then figure out what you would need, but you're untrustworthy. You created an untrustworthy environment. And that's what they want to do all this time. Why do they want to create an untrustworthy environment? So that they can steal. So that they can steal unsuspecting people's property and unsuspecting people's money. We are U.S. citizens. I was born in California, here in the Bay Area, South Bay. I went to California schools. I grew up in an affluent community where we had brief but simple communications with the neighbors. Hello, how are you? And then you go on with your life. But these people are doing something very bizarre, as if people don't have relationships in their lives. Well, I explained in my previous YouTube videos that my mother was forced to a Catholic boarding school, and she learned those bizarre training methods where you're not supposed to have friends, or why do you need to have a family? You never discuss this stuff. It's all very degrading, demoralizing, derogatory remarks. And I recognized that in the judge when I was at the courthouse, and I knew that, sensed that something was wrong, and so I complained, to Boland, Steve Boland, who was at that time the district attorney's he was in charge of the government corruption unit. And so I wrote a letter to him, and I got a letter back. I did post that on Facebook. They've taken down some of the posts on Facebook because I guess they didn't want the public to see it, which was them wanting to make me look like a liar, like I didn't have the documents, or the documents and the photos I was posting were fake. They weren't fake, and I in the YouTube video, in one of them I showed that I had actual Polaroid instant photos. You can't adjust those. If you open them or anything, the photo is gone. I believe. I don't know. I've never done that to any of mine. So they want to make this untrustworthy environment so that it changes your demeanor, it changes your trust level. And by doing that, they justify in their head why they could slander you and libel you. By making an untrustworthy environment, they could say, oh, see, you're paranoid. Oh, see, you're delusional. Oh, you're this. That's why they damaged my Vivitar camera and my Udoku surveillance camera. Yeah, the Martinez Police Department did that. So those aren't working anymore. I'm still using this one on my computer, but the last video and one of the other ones, they interfered with the video while it was operating, and then they changed my voice. I don't know how to edit. I might try it on this one. I don't know. I might just post this one unedited because I just need to get the video out. And so I'm asking that. Oh yes, so one of the issues is what I did with my packed boxes, because I'm waiting to get to my sanctuary home, my rightful home that they stole and demolished. And I put those boxes away, but what I had left over are the rest of my packing supplies, which is quite a bit. And so I put it outside and wrapped it up in tarp and plastic wrap. And I got a notice, or not a notice, but an email from the landlord saying, and this is after I told him that I'm using the public library to access my email just because I'm not sure if I'm able to get to it from my devices at home. And I said, so it may take more than 24 hours to access my email. And what does he do? He sends me an email saying, I know I was out at the, out at, your unit, and out back, I discovered like a pallet size pile that's blocking the fire lane or something, and to contact him right away, otherwise he's going to have somebody put it in the garbage. I mean, this is the kind of games they keep playing to harass me, to cause me to have a reaction. And I happened to go to the library, and within 24 hours, and I got the email, and I said, that's not garbage. Don't throw it away. I could simply move it closer to the fence because the fire lane, I guess, would be next to the building. And then I later on, quite some time later, like just a couple of weeks ago or less, maybe last week, I found the email from the housing authority case manager telling me that I was supposed to have the clutter thrown in the garbage or something. I don't know. It just threw me off. It was, again, another bizarre email. And that's what the housing authority keeps sending to me. Nothing that is to protect me. Nothing. And I've sent numerous emails because they keep bombarding me with all this harassment. And on there, is the evidence of what the court system did to me, but they're willingly going along with it, which is illegal. That's organized crime, and I demand that they be indicted and convicted for conspiracy, for going along with this scheme to get rid of me, which means to end my life. How do they proceed with ending your life? Well, they have this plan, they plot this scheme. It's a very slow, methodical process where they target the people that they don't like because they don't fit in with their clique, with their club, with their mob, with their mafia, with their gang, with their communist Nazi mafia group, with their cruel Catholic MOers. And that's the term that I created, cruel Catholic MOers, because I proved it, and that's on my patch articles. And they plot this slow, methodical scheme so that you cannot get medical care. They interfere with you buying healthy food. They will even force these people to increase the prices so that you can't buy it, or that it's more expensive, and now everything that you need is a little bit more, and so it's even more difficult. You have to think of some other way to make to buy it from somewhere else. I mean, they even want to interfere with your, if you purchase something using a coupon. And for example, they will not allow me to get a proper current lens prescription, eyeglass lens prescription through the VA. I've not even got one notice telling me, but they keep incessantly sending me notices to go to OBGYN Women's Health for pap smear and pelvic exam. Well, of course I'm not going to go because that's not a trustworthy health system. Already they proved it to me. I proved it through evidence, and it's proving again because they will not send me the proper notices regarding my health related to my eye vision care, to my bone density, my osteopenia, osteoporosis. They will not have me come in for, right, they're just simply not sending me the notices that you would send, which I had been getting before this all happened, because I started going to the VA clinic in Martinez in 2003. So I'm still without the right eyeglass lens prescription updated. And they're doing that on purpose because they know that my vision causes me to, the type of vision, eye disability that I have, I was always told is called crossed eyes and lazy eye. That's what I was told as a child. And my childhood eye doctor is the one that told me that's what it's called, and he kept referring to it as that, and so did my dad. My dad has the same eye disability, eye condition, and that's what he referred to it as well. I didn't learn until about 2009 from one of my senior clients in Rossmore, Walnut Creek, the large senior living community. That's about, it was about 10 minutes away or so, no more than that, 15 minutes away from my Concord home, about 10 miles for me to get out there to a client, because it's pretty large. Once you get through the gate, if you have a client up one of the hills or all the way across on the other end, it's a pretty large community. About 9,000 residents live there, 55 and over. And so they know that by not providing a current prescription, eyeglass prescription, that with my eye disability, which my senior client in 2009 said it's called strabismus. That's what crossed eyes is referred to, strabismus. And I didn't know that until 2009 from one of my senior clients. And then the lazy eye part is called amblyopia. Well, this eye doctor at the VA, when I started going through my civil case, referred to it as something else, and I didn't know what that was until in 2016 when I wanted them to correct my record, and I was also applying for a national parks disability pass. And my eye disability does cause me to have what's called no depth perception, or what is it called? Binocular vision, because you don't have 3D vision. And she kept telling me that it was in my head. And I still have my elementary school records, and there's nothing about me that was lacking mentally. I was keeping up with the other students. I was doing well. There were some things that they indicated that I had a speech impediment, and they referred me to a speech therapist. I did post that on Facebook, but I don't think that's available on there because they took that down. They also said that I was extremely quiet, and that they wanted to encourage me to be more, to speak up. I guess they did note that I just was quiet. And that's not criminal behavior, okay? But they did note, that overall I was, progressing as a normal child mentally. And I also had references and character references from past work history. Get along with others, doing my job well, doing more than other people would do, taking care of, and then taking care of the work. That's not the kind of references you're going to get if you are just, going off and taking extra long breaks and not getting along with others and causing a problem in the workplace. And you're not going to get those types of references. And they tried to get rid of those references. So rather than hear my case, they slowly, methodically, completely and absolutely ruined my reputation and character, ruined my livelihood, destroyed my American dream of having a business, which I finally found I did an excellent job with the seniors because I don't have physical stamina. For some reason, I slow down easily, and that may be related to the weak muscle that my left eye is. It's caused this the crossed eye is caused by a lazy or weak, I guess what they call a weak muscle in the back of the eye. And so you can't control the eye. So your good eye takes the lead. And so that's the eye that's going to always see things. So this is something that I've done with people that I've known when I was younger, and I'll see if I could do it now. So, well, for one, I can't focus on the screen of the computer, and so I'm just basing it on what I know, that because my eye disability is how my doctor explained it to me and how my father explained it to me, is that when you cover the good eye, supposedly back then in the 60s, they thought that if you covered the good eye, the weak eye would get stronger. But that didn't work for me. They also thought that if you had surgery, which I did at age 6, that would correct the strabismus. So what I noticed, and this continued after I grew up and became an adult, and I was still showing this to people in my late 30s, in the late 90s. So I'm going to do this right now. I can't see, like I said, I can't see the screen. My right eye, which is this one, and its opposite is confusing because the camera makes it look opposite. But this is my right eye. This is my good eye. And I'm trying to look at the screen to the best of my ability. Now I'm going to cover, and by the way, my left eye just lags and it tends to go inwards. I have the condition where the weak eye goes inwards towards the nose, and there's a term for it. Other people might have it going outwards, but mine goes inwards. So right now I'm going to cover my right eye, and if you look at the left eye will kick in, the muscle will kick in, and it will try to look out of the left eye, the weak eye, and that one will try to then focus. Okay, this is not in my head. This is based on the muscle because it's weak. Okay, so here goes. I'm going to cover my right eye, and the left eye then is trying to focus and trying to look straight ahead and be the lead, because the right eye is covered and I can't look out. So if I try to look over there, I could see I can move the eye based on it being in control because I'm looking out of it. So now I'm going to take my right hand off again and notice where the left eye goes, because the right eye, my right eye is the healthier eye, not the perfect eye, but the healthier eye, the stronger eye. And so it's going to kick in and then take the lead. So here I'm going to remove it. So now I'm just looking out of the right eye. The left eye is just lagging along. I cannot control it. And so I see objects, I can sense color, but I can't focus on anything. I can't focus on anything at all. That's my eye disability. But the eye doctor at the VA is saying that that is in my head, that that's a mental illness. And that is just cruel and inhumane. And so at this point, they're never providing for me for my eye disability. That is happening right here in the United States, right here in the state of California, right here in Contra Costa County in Northern California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, right here in Martinez, California. That's what I'm putting up with, and they are still doing it. That is not in my head. That is a weak muscle, and it is hereditary, and I was born with it from my father, who has the same condition, but the opposite eye. His strong eye is his left eye, and his weak eye is his right eye. And I talked about something very disturbing in my one of my YouTube videos. I think it was not the last one, but the one before, that they went after my family for no reason at all, completely illegal, trying to make me the problem of everyone's life, including the whole world and the problem of the United States, because I'm fighting for my rights, protecting my life, my property, my livelihood, my sanctuary home, my belongings, and they went after my family and they killed my dad. And the reason that they do this is because if you're a witness to mental or medical fraud schemes, the legal system here, because it's a scheme that they've plotted and they conspire with the doctors out in the community, and they're perpetrating this on humans too. This happened at I posted it on Facebook. I was told about this. Uh, it was the Doc's Pharmacy, and the women there were messing around with the prescriptions because they were making their own prescriptions, and they gave them meningitis, and people died, and they had to. I don't know what happened at the government level, but it seemed very fishy because they never indicted and convicted the women or the owner. But there was one news article where it did talk about how the women were the ones that were making the medications, and they were very shoddy at what they were doing. And they tried to get some other guy to buy into the business, and he came from another state, I believe, and he got caught up in it, and he ended up committing suicide. They lived in Pleasant Hill, and he put nicotine patches, those patches to quit smoking, and he put them all over his body, and he committed suicide. And that's what happened at Encina Veterinary Clinic Incorporated et al., which is affiliated with that Doc's Pharmacy, which is not, they revoked the owner's license. And Encina is affiliated with that at that time with Doc's Pharmacy because they were prescribing me to get Elvira's eye medication there, which was the liquid cyclosporin for her dry eye. As I mentioned in my previous video, Elvira came to me. I rescued her on my own, and she came to me with many health problems, including dry eye, and so she was blind in one eye, and she had chronic ear infections, and she had a problem with her private part because I guess she was getting chronic urinary tract infections, and so it was causing her so much pain or something, so she kept dragging herself on the concrete because they left her outside for 2 years in the backyard, and so it caused it to become so irritated that it was swollen, like permanently, and because it created like a not a callus. I don't want to say callus, but I don't know what you want to call it. But it when I found Dr. Johnson, Roger Johnson at Encina, who was referred to me by two people, one organization and one woman in the condo complex where I lived. And the reason I decided to go there was because some of these veterinarians don't have enough knowledge about pugs, and they have issues when you're performing medical treatments on them. They have different concerns. You have to be very alert to that type of condition, which I don't have a clue. I was just basing it on the people who were referring me there. And also I had met a lady at PetSmart who was upset that her pug passed away at the vet during a routine teeth cleaning. And so that put me on alert as to I should think about Elvira's veterinarian. And that's why I was going there. And so he had a prescription for me through Doc's Pharmacy for the liquid cyclosporin. And so the government is trying to cover this up with Encina because they were doing it to a lot of the pets where they're using these pets unknowingly to the clients for their own gain, for their own personal gain. But it's so wicked and so sinister and so diabolical because they're experimenting on them, watching the client suffer. So not only do they use the drugs inappropriately, and the services and the recommendations are not according to not only as a property, but medically, because I looked it up, because the animal is suffering and that's not healing. The medical professional is there for the patient to heal, not to continue with services. And I prove that through evidence. And also, it's against property laws because that's the client's property. Whether people like it or not, your pet, and whether you like it or not that they refer to it as your pet, the animal is still the property of the owner. And so the government was in cahoots with the vet practice Encina, and they knew, I guess they were allowing them to use these people's pets for their own sinister and diabolical and harmful, causing great bodily injuries on these animals, which is considered cruelty to animals, by perpetrating this horrific scheme that continues the services, and then the person that is dependent and reliant on the doctor is just panicking and becoming traumatized because they're traumatized that their pet, their beloved fuzzy family member, is sick, okay, or doesn't know what to do. So to add that on to their scheme, their wicked, secret, sinister scheme, just adds on to the trauma. And the doctor there, the veterinarians, just watch it, and they're relishing in it. They're, being secretly sadomasochistic about it. And the client is besides themselves and doesn't know what to do because their loved one is suffering. That's what happened to me. And not only did they force even more medications that I had no idea what the results are or understand what it was for exactly, I got injured. And the court system here in Contra Costa County was all for it. Getting away, including the governor at that time, Jerry Brown, was all for the veterinarian perpetrating heinous veterinary fraud schemes that cause great bodily injuries both on the patient and the client, and stealing huge amounts of money and claiming that's legitimate services and that there was no harm done, as if nothing wrong had happened. And so that's why they've been trying to kill me off through this slow, methodical death sentence that Jane Elliott called it. That's the attorney that was appointed through the public defender, because the cases go to the criminal cases, which is what they made me into. Illegally, they made me into a criminal. And the case goes to the public defender, which is under Robin Lipinski. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but then that goes on to some other place if that's what they decide. And so they have to review the case. That's what taxpayers are paying for them to review the cases and to make sure that the people are safe. Right. They're supposed to make sure that they're protecting the people that go through there. But that's not what they were doing. They all conspired and wanted to shut me up. And they were really trying to either put me in prison for 3 years on some bogus charge, some fraud charge, or put me up at Napa State Hospital indefinitely. And so they're still harassing me, still trying to put me out in the street. Now, I have this inspection that's coming up on April 2nd. And again, if they come up with some false reasoning to deny me the recertification, that means that I'm going to end up in the street. Okay, they could say, hey, your landlord says there's a pallet size pile out here, and that's not supposed to be out there. That's not allowed. Who knows what they're going to do? And it's packing material. Okay, it's light. I moved it. I showed them on the day that they came out to supposedly fix this electrical problem. I mentioned to the landlord in front of my case manager, because I'm not supposed to be talking with him because he's already deemed dangerous to what he did to me, harassed me through the neighbor that used to be here, the pounder, pounding on the walls, even late at night, throwing hard objects at the windows, breaking it. I was standing about 2 feet away from the window. Now, if they think that's all fun and games, that's terrorism. The landlord was all for it and willing to pay to just fix the window again. That's how involved he is in it. And then, of course, I posted that they damaged my classic car that I've had since I was 20 years old that I paid for with my own money. And they just keep doing this, terrorizing me to obliterate me off the face of the earth. I don't know what happened to Mr. and Mrs. Fluharty, which were also victimized by Encina. And again, I talked about this a little bit in my previous videos, that the cruel Catholic MO, and on my patch articles and in my Wix website, that the Catholic Church teaches that if you make somebody into a scandal, that justifies them, pursuant to their canon laws under the Holy See, that then they can lie. And that's what they're practicing in the court system. And that is completely illegal. It is against U.S. laws under federal laws. It is against California laws. The AG, the Attorney General, should have been taking those people into custody already back in 2016. This is 2019 and it's still going on. So back to what's happening on April 2nd. So I don't know what's going to happen again. I proved it. I have the evidence to prove it, that they committed a scheme. They made me into a scandal, and that's why they're claiming they could do this to me. There's no scandal involved. I don't know Dr. Roger Johnson, except at the vet practice. I've posted enough evidence to prove that. There was even phone records. I had included documentation that there was a estimate that had a cap on it, and I signed it according to that cap. I paid the lower amount, but I did not know that they had two doctors and his assistant had plotted a scheme to further the services and then to rack up, swindle me out of thousands of dollars and torture my beloved Elvira. I'm still going to fight because I'm a U.S. citizen. I am not a criminal. They still will not provide for me. I still am not allowed attorney representation. They sabotage that. I am being denied medical care. I'm being denied services. The reason that they're doing this is because when you find out that they're harassing you, they're doing it in such a manner that you can't, much of the time, you can't, if you're the one being targeted, you can't prove this type of scheme, that this type of harassment, this type of intimidation, this type of tampering. You can't prove it because it changes. For example, if you're using your online, your devices to order something, or something shows up, the cost shows up, the charge shows up on your online banking, they change it. So unless you take a photo, a screenshot of it, or photo shot, you're not going to have any proof of it. They just keep doing it. And if it's something that they do in the store, for example, they could say something very bizarre to you. You're not going to be able to prove it unless you've been videotaping it the whole time. Well, I used to wear the Vivitar camera, and I would turn it on when I was in the stores, and so that's why they damaged it. So if I keep going out and buying another one after another one after another one, I'm not even going to have food to, have money to buy food. And that's why they keep doing it, because they know that I hardly have any money. I spend a lot of money on food, trying to stay healthy, but they keep trying to interfere with every transaction. So take, for example, yesterday, I went to Walgreens and Alpine Pastry Bakery and 99-cent store. And the reason I went out there is because I usually buy or have been making my own custom calendar of Winnie. And then I was doing that through Shutterfly, and they didn't offer that this year, a special. So I looked into it, and Walgreens has a kiosk at their Walgreens store down here. There's one down the street here in Martinez. It's about a, 20-minute walk or so, 25-minute walk from here. And I went in there and I asked about it because I didn't want to use my computer because they keep hacking in, and I didn't know if I had to pay. Then they might try to sabotage and say I ordered 3 of them, like that's what they had been doing. And so I went in, and the clerk said, oh, you'll need to talk to this gentleman. He knows more about it. So I asked him, how does this work if I use use this machine here to do a calendar? And he said that he seemed vague, but he said you just bring in because I noticed that you could plug in a lot of different devices. You could do it off your USB, or there were a whole bunch of other ones. I didn't recognize them. And I said, how long does it take to, to get it back, to get the item? And he said, oh, about a week. And then I said, do you pay at the time that I ordered on here, or when do I pay for it? And he seemed vague again, like, oh no, yes, oh no, when you pick it up. It just didn't make any sense. And so then I looked into it again, and I looked it up online, and Walgreens online showed that you could pick it up on the same day, and I still wasn't sure about payment, so I decided to go try it down at the public library. And so I did that yesterday morning, and I created a calendar on the Walgreens website, and I placed the order, and I thought at that point they were going to ask for payment, but it said on their pay in store. And then it showed that you have to pick a store where you would go pick it up, or you could have it shipped to you, but I wanted to go pick it up. And it showed that it was going to be available for pickup in just like, I don't know, an hour or so. And so I was walking out the public library just down here in downtown Martinez across from the courthouse, and the 19 bus showed up, and I was like, I'll hop on the bus right now, and by the time I get out there, it should be about ready for pickup. So I went down there, and I walked in about 3 minutes after the time that they said that it would be available around that time or thereafter. And I walk around with my headphones on. Sometimes it's on up high, sometimes I put it down a little bit. But as I was walking around, because I thought I was going to pick up some things there, and all of a sudden on the intercom, they said IC3. Okay, well, IC3 is the FBI IC3 unit where you complain to the federal government about internet fraud or some type of internet crime. And so I just thought, oh, here we go again. Okay, well, I can't prove it because I wasn't recording it. Okay, so there's nothing I could do about that. Unless I complain again and then somebody else investigates it. It's just on and on and on. So I went up to I found out that they didn't have what I needed. So I went to the photo department and I asked him about my order. And he checked out and he just said, no, it's not ready yet. It'll be ready in about 30 minutes or so. I need to, it's not finished processing. And then after that, I have to assemble it. So I said, I would come back. I can go shopping and come back. And that's when I decided to go to these other stores. So when I was at the 99-cent store, I decided not to go to the Dollar Tree, which was actually just around the corner from Walgreens, because they keep harassing me there. They've really ramped it up at the Dollar Tree. So I decided to walk down a little bit further to the 99-cent store, which is in an outdoor mall, shopping mall. And so I just wanted to get a couple things, which I did. And it was peculiar again because you'll notice that when they're harassing you, the way that they're harassing you is they're denying you something or they're interfering with the natural flow of service. So for instance, you could walk up to a cash register, in that direction, and all of a sudden it says go to next cashier or something, or they'll turn the lights off. Okay. And so I just figure, hey, if they're going to do that, I'm just going to get in a line and then I'm going to be patient and make my purchase. And that's what I did. But it did seem peculiar again because they closed out 2 cashiers. There was a total of 3 open. They closed out 2 as I was walking up to them. And then while I was in the long line, nobody came up to them that I noticed, but then they all went down to another one that just all of a sudden seemed to be open. Now at the Dollar Tree, what they did the last time I went to the one that was nearby, they had asked me, I was like the 4th person down the line, and the cashier actually comes up to me and says, I can help you over here. And I said, no, thanks. And then she grabbed the other lady immediately behind me went, and the other one after her. But there was 2 more people in front of me who she didn't even ask. And that's very unusual to see that. That means that there was some kind of a setup. Okay, but I can't prove it. Okay, I can't prove it. But it is a bizarre behavior that they are influencing and I guess intimidating or threatening store workers and managers to perpetrate on their targets. And then the more that they do that to the target, the more that the target will say, hey, I'm not shopping here anymore, or they're going to be so harassed that they are so bombarded and so inundated with having to file complaints. So you never have peace of life. You never have quality of life. That's their goal. They want to change your demeanor so that you never get to concentrate on your attributes. So I would never get to concentrate on knitting if that's what I wanted to learn more about doing. I would never get to work on my artwork. I would never get to go get a job. I would never get to seek justice. These are the things that they're denying their target. So that's what happened at the 99-cent store. So then I said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy this beautiful weather. And I said, okay, it's Easter's coming up. Let me see. I haven't been in this new Alpine pastry location. They used to be at another area. And I went over there and I walked in. There was just one other customer ahead of me, a woman and a younger man. And all of a sudden, this other cashier clerk worker comes out and says, baker or whatever, comes out and says, can I help the next person, please? And the young man happened to be down more towards her. And he said, oh, no, I'm with, and then so she says, oh, can I help you, to me? And I said, yes, I would like one of the lemon hot cross buns. And she says, okay, they put on a voice like they're providing a service for you, but really they're perpetrating this wicked scheme, this scheme where they're going to cause a problem with your business transaction. So she said, okay, that will be $2.50. And I said, I'd like a receipt, please. So she got a receipt. And she folded the little bag up, and I told her, this is to go. Then they come back and they go, is this to go? This is how they do it. They play like they don't know what you're talking about. They pretend like they don't speak English. So she did that. Okay, well, I'll just tell you what happened next. I went outside because I wanted to put some things together, and I have Winnie, I had my jacket on, and I decided that, hey, I wanted to take a bite out of my lemon hot cross bun. And I opened it up, and it was the custard hot cross bun. So I went back inside, and I said, you gave me the wrong one. I asked for the lemon hot cross bun, and you gave me the custard hot cross bun. And she was like, oh, I thought I gave you the lemon. I'll change it for you. And this is exactly what they want to do to the customer. But they're targeting through the legal system and through the local FBI the people that they don't like, because they are perpetrating on society in our area this heinous medical fraud scheme, and these schemes where they don't want customers to know that they're promoting. The government, even the mayors, are promoting that when we go for services, say for our car, say we want to get services for our computer, they are not fixing the problem. They are then taking your property and they're fiddling with it to cause another problem, or they're creating it so that something will happen and you're going to have to figure out or contact them again. Look, you didn't fix this. You didn't do the repairs. And so you're trapped. Okay, it's a trap. The scheme is a trap. And so you have to go back to this business and you have to leave your property again. And so at that time, when you think that they're supposedly fixing it, they may be fixing that one problem to, how shall I say, to pacify you. And then they're doing something to something else. And then they're generating this scheme, this fraud scheme, where then you keep having to go get services. Is completely illegal, completely illegal. And the reason that they're doing it is so that they can live a double life. It's not so that they can just buy what they need and live a decent lifestyle where they're living within their means and not having addictions. It is so that the perpetrators, the people in this sex and hate cult, can live out this fantasy world of sex addictions, food addictions, shopping addictions, travel addictions, on and on and on. Now, when you add in the Catholic aspect to it, the more that they do this, the more money that actually goes to the Catholic Church, believe it or not. These are mostly Catholics who are protecting the people that they know in the community. And so let's say that the judges are Catholic. They have their family members and their friends who are Catholic or are connected with their Catholic families or friends, or connected to the other law enforcement officers that are in the scheme, and they are protecting those friends and family members. So the customer, who is completely oblivious and completely unbeknownst to them that these wicked, sinister fraud schemes that cause great bodily harm and public safety and a danger to your life, because if they sabotage my brake system on my Falcon, I would have gotten an accident, and I could have gotten to a rear end accident, or someone could have rear-ended me. I could have died. And that's what their goal is. Their goal is to cover it up so that they can keep perpetrating this scheme, this fraud scheme, this heinous fraud scheme, because it causes a safety issue that is detrimental to your life. And that's why they don't want me to get current eyeglass prescriptions, because they don't want me to see. They want me to, hey, I didn't see the car coming, and this is what they're doing. Now, why are so many people going along with it? A lot of them are scared. Okay, a lot of them have been threatened. A lot of them have been ripped off themselves. And I've talked about that on my Facebook. If you follow my Facebook, you'll see my posts that they've done it to seniors out in Rossmore who talked to me about it. Even when I was at the dealership where my Corolla was not worked on, and they charged me like $900 something, and they didn't even do the work. I remember another customer, a big man, a white, educated looking man in his 50s, 60s, was really raised his voice because he had to tell the sales rep, right, for the services, that you could tell that he knew that they were trying to pull the wool over his eyes, and he was going to fend for himself. But it's a shame, because men and women want to support these businesses, but they're screwing us over. They're destroying us, stealing our money, but we're trying to support these businesses. But these schemers, these cruel Catholic MOers, these commie Nazi mafias are exploiting us. But unbeknownst to us, I'm exposing it now, but unbeknownst, I didn't know that, but they set up this scheme, this wicked scheme, where the average general population doesn't know that the scheme is going on U.S. citizens to steal their money and to put them in harm's way and to damage their property. They think it's their right to do this. The Catholic Church thinks it's right to do this. They teach it in their schools to do this. They do the complete opposite of what the law says and what the Bible says about Christian behavior. They do the complete opposite. They shouldn't be allowed to be even calling themselves Christians. So I am dealing with this housing situation and seeking justice. And I'm demanding, and I'm asking everybody who is onto this cruel Catholic MO, and all through history, they have rampaged through communities and destroyed people's lives. And it is connected to communism. It's connected to Nazi. It's connected to mafia. If you do enough research, if you do enough study of the history of Catholicism and history in Europe and everywhere, South America, you will learn that Catholics are not spreading the word about Jesus to walk with the Lord, to walk with Jesus to behave with Christian behaviors in the name of Jesus. It's to learn how to terrorize, steal, and destroy unsuspecting people so that they have the control, except now it's where they're having the women, the Catholic women, sexualize females, unbeknownst to females, but in a demonic way. Demonic. The word demonic means that it's going to be in a negative, derogatory, snide, sinister, um, insidious manner, where their target is going to be destroyed, tortured, terrorized, and destroyed. So that's where the word demonic comes in. You could sexualize somebody, but you could not act on it. I mean, you could just say, hey, that's a sexy looking person, and then on you go. It doesn't even, um, you know, how do I say, it doesn't even, you know, conceive in your mind to another level. It just is a statement, the end of it, and then on you go. So the demonic related to the sexualizing and the demonic sex endeavors is what's so dangerous about this, because their laws allow them to make somebody into a scandal, which then justifies them to lie about the person that they're targeting. And this is what they're doing in the legal system, and it's completely illegal, completely, absolutely illegal. And these women in the government here, for example, there's a mayor here. Her name is, she was voted in last time, Norelia Gipner, and then you have on the board of supervisors here in Contra Costa County, you have Karen Mitchoff, and these women are actually depriving females of speaking out. And you have the mayor in Concord who completely mocked me when I was down there. I didn't know Mayor Laura Hoffmeister. I went down there because I wanted to express concerns, and I even spoke at a very important public hearing on smoking ordinances. And there was a video made, and that video no longer is at the city council because they want to destroy evidence. So they make it shorter and shorter for the amount of time that you store evidence. And so unless somebody else at the public hearing for that smoking ordinance was there and got a copy of it, they would be the one to contact. And the opposing party was the Vinnie's Barn Grill, which was part of that. It was a city ordinance that was just focusing on the downtown area, and I wanted it to include citywide because the park manager at the mobile home park where my sanctuary home is kept smoking and puffing the smoke around you, and it was just so interfering with your space to even conduct business. So unless somebody has that video, you will see that I am perfectly capable of communicating in a rational manner, although I'm not a public speaker, and I am affected by my eye disability still to this day. And Laura Hoffmeister just mocked me. I showed up at a hearing, at a council meeting where she noticed I was there. It was after I'd sent her a letter about male sex addiction is the core of our society's problems, without realizing it that these females are from the Catholic Church are from the Novus Ordo are doing it too. I didn't know it at that time. And she said something like, we only hear, matters that are earth-shattering. Then she went into this big, long statement about the history of women's suffrage movement, which is about voting. And she said, some women think that suffrage means suffering. Well, there was another woman who was destroyed by the Contra Costa County legal system, who was through the family court for child custody dispute, a child custody case. And she used the word suffrage, and I put her case in my Part 2 patch article, and that link is on my petition, which I'll put in the comment below. All of the articles are in, and the evidence, some of the evidence are in the link through the petition, and I could also, and same with the articles. And after I got that document from this victim that was being targeted through the court for this child custody case, she had made a mistake and used the word suffrage when she wrote to the White House. And it was meant as suffer. And she used it again. I didn't say anything at that time when I read it, but she used it again on her Facebook in a conversation with somebody else. And I chimed in at that time when I was still using the messenger, and I let her know that suffrage is about voting. It's not about women suffering over something. And I really believe, and I don't have proof of it, but if they launch an investigation or they question Mayor Laura Hoffmeister, who also was continued with being a mayor or on the city council there through this last voting. Did she know about that case? These women in the government are doing things that are very illegal. You are not allowed to discuss cases in a manner that you would deny somebody their rights. Yes, you can mention a case and say, this is a case, I'm going to speak out against it. I'm letting you know I'm writing a letter to the CJP. I'm writing a letter to the AG. You can say that, okay? The time just stopped. I noticed it for the first time. I don't know if it stopped before, but I will watch this and see if it had stopped at other times. Perhaps they're changing my voice again. I don't know. So I will talk a little bit here and then I will continue. And so these women in the government are in a very malicious, communistic, Nazi mafia clique, group. Illegal. It's all illegal. They cannot discuss a case and make decisions on it and say, oh, I don't want this to get out. Oh, no, don't say anything about it. We don't want anything to know about it. Oh, yeah, next time she comes in, just start mocking her. Oh, yeah, play like you don't know what she's talking about. Oh, pretend like we don't speak English. Oh, just ignore her. Oh, don't say anything. Don't answer her questions. Oh, if she comes in here, don't call her back. Don't respond. Oh, just tell her, is it like that? This is what they're doing, and that is illegal. That is completely illegal. They are supposed to take a report. They are supposed to look at the facts. They are supposed to take the evidence. They are supposed to match it up with the laws, and then they are supposed to follow through. That's how they're supposed to behave in their government positions, period. That's what taxpayers are paying for. We are not paying for these women to be secretly, demonically sexualizing unsuspecting people from the community, unsuspecting females who need help, and then lie about them behind their backs, and then constantly deprive them of their rights and say that it's all in their head, just like going along with these men who want to kill their wives or rape a female or, swindle money out of their ex-wife. Or this is what seems to be the women in the government. These are the women in the government. They are the most horrific, hardcore criminals in the government here, and they need to be indicted and convicted to the full extent of the law. And then the government needs to make sure that they are not in the federal government, that they are not allowed to become representatives in politics, because that's how they get their job in politics. And much of the time, as they started out in a government position, it could be law enforcement, and then they got into the city council or vice versa, and then they move on to the Senate or the Assembly. You never know how they got in it, but it's completely illegal if somebody backed them and paid for it. Anyway, right now it is something that they're doing that is similar to the city council members that were in Bell, California, that were ripping off the taxpayers by increasing their salaries, but they were just living it up. You know, they're just going out, and you could tell that that they're not doing their job, because if you go to them, they're ignoring you, or they're giving you false information. For example, I went down to Martinez to the building inspector to report that the workers, the landlord's workers, opened up the water main here at by the street, sidewalk street, and they shut off the water for my unit. That's illegal. And it was something that they were working on in the bathroom in the unit next door to me, and that's completely illegal. But nothing happened. They were allowed to keep doing it. I just ask that everybody who is against this, who has been duped as a Protestant, I have to warn you that Catholics are taught to systematically get rid of, destroy a Protestant. They've done that ever since Martin Luther. That's what they're taught to do everywhere they go. Whether you're in the workplace, they will do it. You will lose your job. You try to complain to the government who's supposed to protect you, they will allow the Catholic to get rid of you and say nothing is wrong. So I'm just letting you know that the Protestants who have been influenced, because the Catholics have a scheme where they entice and influence a Protestant to do things that are not according to the Holy Bible, not according to Christian behaviors. That's what it's called in the New Testament, Christian behaviors. And they will influence you to do things that are not Christian. And then when they want to, they'll throw it back at you and say, you're not a Christian. Well, now it's to the point where they're actually going to criminalize you or make you into a scandal, a mental health problem, in order to get rid of you. They will either try to make you commit suicide, or they're going to libel you. And that is completely illegal. It is illegal for a religious group who is practicing a sex and hate cult to perpetrate these schemes on people in the United States. It's completely illegal. Also, for Protestants who don't realize it, they have targeted Protestants from other countries. And this happened to a couple I knew from New Zealand, and they were non-denominational, and they were living in Walnut Creek, and they were working several jobs, and the police or the community were harassing them. The wife told me that they harassed them on a regular basis. And then one day she said, she confided in me, she says, my husband was arrested and he was put in jail, and he had went to a nightclub, and I guess some girls were there, women were flirting with him, and she bailed him out. And I don't know the details of if somebody, befriended him and took him down there, or I don't know the details of it, but the wife had to bail him out. They quit their job where I met them, and they adopted a baby, and I was busy dealing with what was happening to Elvira at that time. And so we just, a lot parted ways just through not seeing each other anymore. And they were targeted. I also knew a Protestant man, a Southern Baptist, who was being targeted by the police, and ticketed him. And I'm warning you, for the Protestants here in the community, that you need to speak out against this. Whether you write to the governor, the current governor now, Gavin Newsom, is Catholic. He seems to be doing some things different than what Jerry Brown was doing, but I don't know what he's doing with this cruel Catholic MO, this heinous fraud scheme, and this secret demonic sexualizing, and denying people their rights through the court system. So thank you for listening, and I'm going to say so long for now. And if you could contact as many people as you can. All right, Winnie. Say goodbye, Winnie. Thank you.